Well, welcome everybody. My name is Pamela Diapera, and I'm a patient engagement intern here at Eureka Therapeutics. And welcome to our first webinar, Hope Unveiled, Navigating Resources and Trials in the Fight Against Pediatric Cancer. We also want to thank our panelists today, representing Hepatoblastoma Resource Network and Blue Fairy. You guys logging in from, and let me have that pop up on here. So I'm seeing Nebraska, Georgia, Alabama, California, lots of different places. We're going to go ahead and keep this rolling along. So as a brief reminder, just to keep everything succinct and together, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box that's at the top. So what is the history behind Childhood Cancer Awareness Month? The idea was first brought up in 1990 when President George H. Bush signed a proclamation in 1990 designating October as National Awareness Month for Children with Cancer. Then in 2008, the Senate passed the Allard Clinton National Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. Then during Obama's presidency, the Awareness Month was moved to September 2012. And finally, in September 2019, Joe Manchin introduced a resolution for National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month after being inspired by a student in West Virginia. The resolution passed unanimously on September 26, 2019. So what is cancer? To understand what cancer is, we first have to define what a cell is. Our body is made up of tiny building blocks called cells. Normally, cells grow and do their job, then eventually they die, like a well-organized team. But sometimes, whether due to genetics or environmental factors, a cell may start growing and multiplying too much, consuming all the body's resources. These are not good team players. They're like rebels. These rebel cells stop your body from working the way it should. So specifically, what is pediatric liver cancer? So there's different types of cancer that can happen in different parts of the body. And specifically with liver cancer, those rebels that I was talking about earlier keep growing and form a lump in your liver, and that's called liver cancer. Why this is a problem? Because liver cancer can make your liver not work very well, and it's important to find out early so doctors can help fix it. There are several forms of pediatric liver cancer, the most prevalent being hepatoblastoma, which accounts for 70% of all pediatric cases, following by hepatocellular carcinoma, accounting for 27% of cases. Most treatment options for pediatric liver cancer include surgery, radiation, and excuse me, chemotherapy. For advanced pediatric liver cancer, there is currently no FDA-approved therapy, but clinical trials for new potential treatments. Hepatoblastoma impacts more males compared to females and is more prevalent in white patients. I want to bring your attention to the disparities that we see with it between races. We see an almost 30% difference in overall survival rate in Black patients versus their counterparts. A similar trend is seen in HCC, with more prevalence in males and as well in white patients. Again, notice these disparities between races and overall survival rates. So we have another poll question. What is your relationship to liver cancer, whether you're a patient, advocate, or healthcare provider? This now brings us to our first panelist, Andrea Wilson Woods. She's the president, founder, and founding director of Blue Fairy, the Adrienne Wilson Liver Cancer Association. She's a patient advocate, speaker, and podcaster. She's the author of Better Off Bald, A Life in 147 Days, a memoir about her sister's battle against HCC. She is representing Blue Fairy, which their mission is to prevent, treat, and cure primary liver cancer, specifically HCC, through research, education, and advocacy. They aim to improve the quality of life for HCC patients, support their caregivers, and give them hope, information, and a voice. Please welcome Andrea Woods.
Thank you, Pamela, and Nicole, and Pei, and everyone at Eureka for having me.
So let's get right into the questions.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so how does your organization support families and patients dealing with liver cancer, and what resources do you provide to help them navigate this challenging journey?
Well, we started with the education part of our mission, and it goes back to when my sister was diagnosed. I was her legal guardian. She was 15 years old, and this was May of 2001. And the pediatric oncologist gave me all these one sheets about the chemotherapy she was going to undergo and nothing about the actual cancer. And so I said, where's this information on HCC? I need to learn more. And the surgeon who did her biopsy brought me copies from his medical textbooks, and which made me go out and buy a medical dictionary, which I still have, and an actual Gray's Anatomy because I did not understand this medical jargon. And so from the very beginning, we started with our HCC educational brochures. They're written in layman's terms, and now we have developed a more in-depth patient resource guides for liver cancer. They're available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. We ship worldwide for free. They have been distributed in over 700 treatment centers across all 50 states. We also have our liver cancer community, which is a private online HIPAA compliant forum for HCC patients and their families, i.e., not a Facebook group. And we also have our Adrienne Wilson Spirit Award. That's a cash award for HCC patients who have become advocates for themselves and others during their cancer journey. And we have many other public education awareness programs, including Love Your Liver, The Truth About Liver Cancer, and coming next year, You and Liver Cancer.
Nice, nice. So, can you share some success stories or examples of how your advocacy group has made a positive impact in the lives of liver cancer patient and their families?
Yes, some people find our community at the beginning of their journey, and that's what happened with this wonderful couple named Sharon and Jimmy. By joining our community at the beginning, Sharon gained support from others. She also developed a much deeper understanding of the complexity of an HCC diagnosis. You see, she and her husband live in a very rural part of Texas where the community oncologist, who was not a specialist in HCC, visited the town 1 day per week. And while Jimmy tried several treatments, the side effects were killing him. So, with their GI doctors and our community support, they made what I consider to be a very brave choice to stop all treatment, manage his pain, and engage with palliative care and join hospice. He ended up having to renew hospice twice because he was doing so well. And in fact, only 2 days before he died, peacefully at home with his wife, he was doing yard work. And Jimmy was
Mm,
also the recipient of our Adrienne Wilson Spirit Award because he shared his story publicly so many times. And Sharon now continues to share their story, and she volunteers for Blue Fairy.
that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that your organization is doing really great things. Another question, what are some of the biggest challenges and unmet needs that you've identified within the liver cancer community? And what initiatives have you in your company are what initiatives are you and your company doing to work on these and address these issues?
So, our livers don't have pain receptors, which is why people are often diagnosed in the later stages of the disease. And most of the time, when someone is diagnosed early, which is incredibly rare, it's either by accident. So, maybe they went to the ER because they had pain and a doctor thought to run a scan and they see a lesion on the liver, or they knew they had underlying liver disease and they were under the appropriate surveillance. However, I know of specific examples with even with underlying liver disease, the patient was not receiving the necessary care to prevent HCC from occurring. So one of the programs that came out is our Love program, where we raise awareness and educate the public about the early detection of liver disease before it turns into liver cancer.
Nice, nice. So, how do you collaborate with medical professionals, researchers, and other stakeholders to improve the diagnosis, treatment, and overall care for liver cancer patients?
The short answer is a variety of ways. We have our Benefactors Council, which is our individual and corporate membership that engages stakeholders, including our board of directors, our medical advisory board, our employees, our volunteers, and our funders. We're very blessed that Eureka is a member of our Benefactors Council. We meet every year to discuss the HCC landscape and figure out how Blue Fairy can be more effective. And in fact, our Love Your Liver program came out of one of those annual meetings where the liver disease doctors, the hepatologist and gastroenterologist were asking us to do more in prevention. And so we did. We also regularly participate in CME programs for healthcare providers, collaborate with other NGOs, and work with partners such as the GI Cancers Alliance, the Deadliest Cancers Coalition, and the International Liver Cancer Movement.
Nice, nice. And finally, what advice do you have for patients and caregivers who are looking for support and information about liver cancer? And how can they get involved with your organization?
Go to bluefairy.org and join our liver cancer community. It's right there on our homepage. That's the best place to start. And as for more specific advice, number one, it is not your fault. There is so much stigma attached to this disease. And I don't care who you are, you didn't do anything wrong. I would not wish liver cancer on my worst enemy. Number two, I don't care how much you love your doctor. Get a second opinion and maybe a third opinion. I know a mother, I never mess with a mother who got a third opinion. The doctors did not believe anything was wrong with her 18-year-old son, despite the fact that he was losing weight and feeling really tired. It turned out he had a tumor the size of a football on his liver. It was HCC. It was not the very rare fibrolamellar HCC, and surgery saved his life. So if you, and you also, number two, you must see a specialist who deals with HCC every day in their practice. And if you need help getting that second opinion, we can help you. And number three, if you have advanced disease, where curative measures like surgery and transplant are not an option, which is the majority of people, you need to investigate clinical trials now. I always say clinical trials need to be a first option and not a last resort. Don't wait until you've undergone treatment because it may disqualify you from a trial that could save your life. And we do have an HCC specific clinical trial finder tool on our website. And if you need help using it, I'm happy to help you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea. Can we give her a virtual round of applause?
Thank you so
Mm.
much.
All righty. So we have another poll question before we start with our next panelist. Have you encountered any challenges in accessing information or support related to pediatric liver cancer? If so, what challenges have you encountered? And again, just a friendly reminder, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and they will be answered toward the end of the webinar.
Pamela, I just want to jump in real quick. Can you see me? I turned my camera on. Can you see me?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Let me figure this out for a second. Pamela, I'm going to come right back because
Okay,
my camera is having a little issues. I'll be right back.
no worries. Alrighty, awesome. Now we can see you. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So next, representing Hepatoblastoma Resource Network, we have Christina Silverson. She's an official trainer from Grief to Gratitude Coach Certification Program. She runs the Foundation for Addie's Research, which has raised over $500,000 for hepatoblastoma. She serves as president of the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. She is newly retired, and she is also a 20-plus year veteran wife, mother, and grief coach. She is a co-founder of Hepatoblastoma Resource Network, and she'll be representing this non-for-profit. The Hepatoblastoma Resource Network aims to provide a dependable, unified, and current source for hepatoblastoma community. HBRN's primary objective is to supply families, medical professionals, and researchers with the latest medical advancements. So please welcome Christina.
Hello, everyone.
All
It
right.
might sound weird that I'm a grief coach, but if I give you a little bit of backstory, my daughter actually passed away from hepatoblastoma about 7 years ago, and we started a cancer research foundation. Then we started the resource network, and now my latest endeavor, as I just retired from the Air Force after 25 years last week, I started in grief coaching, and that's kind of my new passion, is to help other mothers who have lost kids to pediatric cancer, and kind of how to enjoy every moment with their family and carry that grief with them, but still live kind of this extraordinary life for your other kids. And yeah, so that's why it seems a little disjointed with everything I do, but that's just a little bit of my background.
No worries. So the first question, can you elaborate on the foundation's plans for expanding its reach from a national to an international level, and how this might have an impact on research and collaboration efforts?
Yeah, thanks, Pamela, and thanks to everybody for having me from Eureka Therapeutics. Andrea, it was wonderful to hear that, going back to 2001, that you're still passionate about this stuff 20 years later. And so I'm excited to kind of follow in your footsteps and have longevity in this avenue. And the one thing we realized when we started cancer research was that globally, the community of hepatoblastoma, which is a really rare liver cancer, less than 100 kids in the US per year usually diagnosed. And globally, the partners in research were just not joined together and speaking very well when we entered into the research community about 7 years ago. And so one of our priorities as a research foundation was bringing lots of entities together. So we started the Hepatoblastoma Resource Network for two reasons. One was that we are very active on the Facebook page globally, and we saw that people were asking a lot of the same questions over and over. So we wanted a place to catalog all of those answers. And we also wanted a place to provide resources and advertise conferences, global conferences, and get clinicians, researchers, surgeons all on the same page. So we built a big team of professionals to make a credible, consolidated resource. And in 2021, thank you, COVID, right, for allowing us to come together virtually, but actually the resource network, which is a parent-driven network, brought together over 100 clinicians, researchers, and parents and surgeons from 20 from over 18 countries. And that was one of the most powerful things I have seen in our community. And so I will tell you that when you're on a call with a parent from Iran and a parent from Israel who's live in feuding countries, and they're just coming together to save their child for pediatric cancer. That was pretty amazing. And we had researchers from all over the globe sharing their latest research and developments. And that was pretty amazing. So I feel like bringing together and uniting our community at an international level has been a really, really good thing to get us off the ground with research.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can you share any recent breakthroughs or discoveries or advancements that have been made as the result from the foundation's research efforts?
Yeah, so I can actually share that one of the drugs that we've been working on, the preclinical research side of the house for the last several years, called velasertib, is now actually moving into a clinical trial for rhabdomyosarcoma, which it could be turned into a basket trial for hepatoblastoma very shortly. So we're very excited about seeing our preclinical work move into a trial. And then we're also doing some preclinical work overseas in France that they recently came up with a compound that actually combines with a statin drug for delivery. And it's targeting cisplatin resistant children. So one of our passions as a foundation is to capture the children that are high risk and relapse and don't have any more options, because that was much like our daughter that passed away. She had a very aggressive form. As you briefed earlier, Pamela, and again, I talk like a military briefer, right? As you briefed earlier, like 80% of hepatoblastoma patients generally survive. So we're going after that 20% that doesn't, and we're trying to provide more options for the kids that are cisplatin resistant, the kids that relapse and that don't react to the current treatment. And so we are in discovery mode all of the time, trying to find new drugs and new ways to combine things to make that happen.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really good. What are some of the long-term goals and aspirations of the foundation regarding research, treatment options, and support for those impacted by Addie's condition? Christine, are you there? Oh, there you go.
I am back. I'm sorry, technical issues. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, can you repeat the question, Pamela?
No worries. So, what are some long-term goals and aspirations of the foundation regarding research, treatment options, and support for those impacted by Addie's condition?
So the biggest passion that I have is working in the genetic analysis arena, where if we can figure out any targeted mutations, or by basically doing genetic testing at the beginning on the tumor, if we can figure out what this tumor is going to react to, kids won't have to go through 10 rounds of chemotherapy that they don't need just to realize that it wears down their body and it's not going to save their life. So ideally, what we would like to see is identification up front based on genetic testing to say which treatments are going to work. Because right now it's just kind of a roll of the dice. They just try the treatments they think will work. And like our daughter didn't react to it and was chemo resistant, and then we ran out of options. And so another one of our goals is to develop more options for the kids that are chemo resistant to be able to find other avenues for survival for this cancer.
Nice, nice. So, what resources, support, or opportunities does the foundation offer to researchers who are interested in studying Addie's condition or related fields?
So right now we've continued to expand our credible consolidated resource with our team of clinicians and surgeons and researchers, and a parent network. And we catalog everything on the website. We continue to hold conferences, and we really encourage globally everybody to come together every couple years and share the research that they're working on. And our community is actually getting really unified through some of the trials that are happening right now where they are talking about preclinical research and they are engaging in trials, and we're promoting trials from all aspects and all avenues in all countries as best we can. And I think sometimes people don't realize that the parent network can actually be the strongest, right? We'll have parents reach out to us from foreign countries like India and Japan and South America that are looking for the latest and greatest trials. And if we know about them, we are happy to put them out to see if they're available to them. So I think just having a global network and global access and conversation has been really amazing for our community.
Good. And finally, what advice would you give to families going through similar experiences?
Well, I'm going to just emphasize a little bit here what Andrea said too. If you don't feel like you're getting the treatment, if the treatment is not working and your doctors don't have the answers, we are huge proponents of getting second opinion, third opinion, find who the experts are. I think one of our big challenges with our daughter's diagnosis is we didn't know that we weren't at the place where the experts were. We thought our doctor was an expert, and he maybe saw this on very rare occasions, but I would encourage anybody to find the experts, which we have kind of laid out for you in our network so they're easy to find, the people that specialize and see this every day and see the most rare cases, and connecting yourself with that. And don't be afraid to ask questions to your providers. If they're a good doctor, they are all for your second opinion. So I echo what Andrea said, and you only have one patient to take care of. Your providers have a lot of patients to take care of. So you know your child best, and being a patient advocate is the biggest thing that I can say changed our life. Little things like when we used to go in to get her port accessed for the chemotherapy, they wanted to just rip her shirt off. And I knew that was traumatizing for her. And I just asked the nurse, could we please just access it from under her shirt and not take her shirt off? It really riles her up and makes her uncomfortable. And, they don't know these things. They're just doing their job. But if you as a patient advocate say, my child doesn't like that, or you know your child best. So fighting for your child was probably one of the things that I tell people I'm most proud of, and I took care of my child the best that I could. And so I'd encourage any other parent to cherish the moments that they have, because none of us know how long we do have. Be an advocate for your child and seek a second opinion if you feel like anything is not going as planned, and ask as many questions as you possibly can. And I want to say thank you to everybody on here for having us. We work in conjunction with Eureka and other foundations to really move forward. We're a rare cancer community that really needs to bond together to move things forward. And I love that Eureka is getting things to trial and moving things forward for our community. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Christina, and thank you for telling your story and being so transparent. Next, we have another poll question. In what ways do you think individuals and communities can better support families living with pediatric liver cancer? And we'll go right along with our next panelist, Dr. Nicole Nunez. She is the Manager Regulatory Affairs and Patient Engagement manager at Eureka Therapeutics, Inc. She has a PhD in biochemistry from UC Davis. She's a scientist at heart who has dedicated her life's work to fighting cancer after losing her mom to colorectal cancer. She's a mom of two and wife to veteran who is an active duty U.S. Air Force. She's representing Eureka Therapeutics today, which is a clinical stage biotech company based in the Bay Area. Eureka is dedicated to advancing the science of immunotherapy to create more effective treatment for patients. Please welcome Dr. Nunez.
Hi, thank you, Pamela, and thank you to all of our amazing panels that we've had so far. I just want to take a brief moment just to say Andrea and both Christina are doing amazing work for their organizations. And if anyone on the call, if you or someone you know has HCC or hepatoblastoma, please, you can either reach out to us. We'll have some contact information after this, and we'd be happy to also put you in connection with both of these two individuals who are just extreme patient advocates. Anytime that I have someone who comes across my path who's diagnosed with either HCC or HB, I always connect them with these two because I know that they'll be in good hands and they're going to get the resources they need. So thank you guys. It's amazing work you do. I'd love just to introduce you all to Eureka and tell you a little bit more about us and what we do and how we kind of fit into the grand scheme of things when it comes to pediatric liver cancer and what we're trying to do. So here you can actually see a picture of our headquarters. We're located in the Bay Area in California, right across the Bay Bridge. And really our main mission is we're trying to harness that evolutionary power of T cells to fight solid tumors like pediatric liver cancer. Now, some of the people on the call, you might be asking yourselves, what's a T cell? Well, I actually have a picture for you. So if you look at your screen, you can see that blue guy right in the center, that blue ball. This is a real electron microscope image of a T cell, our T cell, an ET140203 T cell attacking a liver cancer cell. So this is one of my favorite images I like to share. Of course, like you can see that up top, we kind of doctored the sky a little bit, but the main image you can see here with the T cell attacking the liver cancer cell, it's one of my favorites because it really is showing like this is what's happening. So what we're doing is we're actually taking these T cells that are in your body and we engineer them to fight your specific type of cancer. And this T cell therapy has actually already been really successful in a lot of different types of cancers. So for example, blood cancers. There's several FDA approved T cell therapies on the market. You can see on the screen here, for example, like Yescarta or Kymriah. These T cell therapies are curing cancer. I'm not talking, like radiation and chemo and having multiple I'm talking like, for example, one of the first pediatric patients who ever received T cell therapy, Emily Whitehead. She is actually, now we're going on 11 years cancer free since she had her T cell therapy. And so this is really exciting work that we're seeing in the blood cancer field. Her story, there's now many, many more stories that are like hers. And this is amazing, but when it comes to solid tumors, which is what liver cancer is, it's a solid tumor. It's not a blood cancer. It's not something that's just floating. It starts off in your actual liver. Those are harder to treat when it comes to T cell therapies, and there's a few reasons why. One of the reasons, for example, is when it comes to your solid tumors, they're tightly packed cells that are all clustered together. It's hard for therapies to get in there and try to attack those cancer cells simply just because of how tight knit and how compact they are, but also because they put off all of these signals that are telling your body, don't attack us, don't attack us. And so, Eureka really had a challenge. We had to figure out a way, how can we go after these solid tumors? How can we make sure that we're not going to have those toxic effects like chemotherapy that hit every cell in your body? We want to design a therapy that only goes after the tumor cell and not the rest of the liver, because of course the liver, you need it for all of your functions every day, right? So we need to make sure that we're just hitting the cells that are cancerous and not the rest of the liver, and of course not the rest of the cells in the body. And so you can see this is a pretty big challenge. So in order for us to figure out a way to get over this difficulty, we had to look at the picture of like what are the challenges and how can we address them. So here I kind of have a cartoon character. This is our T cell guy. His normal job is to actually, he just floats around in your blood and he's going to help you get rid of viruses and bacteria anytime you get sick. So that's your T cell's job. He does this every single day of the week. Okay. All right. So Eureka steps in, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to take your T cell, who's already a hero, honestly, of sorts. He's helping you fight off bacteria and viruses, right? And we're actually going to take him and turn him into what we call a super T cell. So essentially, what we want to do is we're going to give him this ability, we call it E alpha. And this part of our technology is essentially telling your T cell, okay, when you are scanning the body, you need to find the cancer cell amongst all the other healthy cells in the body, and we only want you to look for the cancer cells. Okay? And so essentially, we have our T cell that has a special receptor on the outside that is going to look for a receptor that's only on the cancer cell and then bind to that receptor. So that's the first thing. We want to make sure we're only hitting cancer cells, not normal cells. Okay, great. You found their cancer cell. Now what do you want to do? Well, you want to destroy it, right? We want to get rid of these cancer cells. And so that's where the Artemis technology comes in. And so here you can see Artemis. Essentially, this is like the superpower where now our T cell has superhero strength. And so he can fight, 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 and get rid of that cancer cell. And so it's not quite as it's not quite as physical as you can imagine with actual hands or anything like that. But we use essentially a T cell uses these several different mechanisms. One of which is using these cytokines, for example, to attack that T cell. For the T cell to attack that cancer cell and destroy the cancer cell. And so by using these two pieces of technology, we've actually been able to overcome that hump that T cells previously had in blood cancer, in solid tumors, and now we're able to go after cancers such as liver cancer. And so if you want to check this out, there's a full animated video. You can see the website at the bottom of the screen. I highly encourage you to check it out. It's very entertaining, has a lot more details, but this is just an overview of how we're able to actually take your own T cells, you, the patient, we take your T cells, engineer them to fight your specific type of cancer. And so for you as the patient, you can see that this might look as something like a blood donation for you. So you come in, you're going to give some blood. We're going to take your T cells out of that blood. We're going to engineer them. So essentially give them a little piece of DNA that's going to tell your T cells, you need to find the cancer cells, and then you need to destroy the cancer cells. After we give your T cells that special piece of DNA, we're going to grow your T cells. So we're going to make a lot of them. So essentially make an army of these super T cells. And then we're going to take that army of super T cells and then we put them right back in your body. So it gets shipped to your hospital. And just like if you were to get an IV, so get fluids through an IV, it's a very similar process. You would essentially get those T cells right into your vein, just like you would an IV. And now we've unleashed the army back into your body. And then their job is to find your cancer cells and defeat the cancer cells. Now, right now, we are currently in clinical trials. I think most people probably on the call are familiar with what clinical trials are, but just in case, I want to note that a clinical trial is something that's open to the public, and it's designed to examine the safety and the efficacy of a drug before it's approved for use. And this is something that the US FDA and other organizations like the FDA has set in place to make sure that drugs are safe for patients and that they're going to be efficacious. And so right now, we actually have a clinical trial in pediatric liver cancer. We're currently in phase 1, which means that we're in the phase where we're going to be looking at safety and tolerability, as well as trying to get an idea of like what's the best dose that we should move forward with in phase 2 for attempting to treat pediatric liver cancer. And we actually, as Christina was mentioning earlier, we actually work with one of the well-known liver cancer experts in the field. This is Dr. Allison O'Neill. She's at Dana-Farber. This is located in Boston, and she is fully focused on liver cancer, pediatric liver cancer. She sees all different types, and so she was the perfect person to have lead this trial. And so she's actually our lead PI for this clinical trial. You can also see that we've actually received some awards. So for example, the California Institute for Regenerative Medicines has awarded us a $10 million grant to bring this clinical trial forward and further through the clinic because again, because of the fact that this is a rare disease, there aren't many treatment options, and the treatment options that are available especially when diagnosed late stage, as both Andrea and Christina were alluding to, it's not great. The options are not great. And so we are really trying to bring this technology forward through the clinic. And I'm really excited to share that with you today. We also have some special designations from the FDA for this trial. We've received, for example, fast track designation for the treatment of HB and pediatric HCC, rare pediatric disease designation, and orphan drug designation, because again, we're going after this rare disease. So I just wanted to note that if any of you are, again, if you're battling pediatric liver cancer, whether that be HCC, HB, or potentially another subtype, please let us know. We'd be happy to connect you with Dr. O'Neill, and we can get your questions answered about what it would take to participate in the trial. I've seen a couple questions that already popped up in terms of locations. Definitely encourage you to talk to us. We know that some of you are calling in from around the globe. Even if there's not a clinical trial necessarily in your country or in your state, I still encourage you to reach out to us, because we have travel assistance and lodging assistance and meals, anything that we can do to make easier, because I know that's another big issue, like we were talking about earlier, with getting a hold of some of these resources. Going to see the best physician, that costs money. It takes time. You have to take time off work and so we want to do whatever we can to make sure that you or your child, that you have an opportunity to get this therapy. We don't want the money to be an issue. We don't want your traveling to be an issue. As someone who has two young girls, I know, like, even if I only had a dime in my pocket, I would go the lengths of the earth to get her connected in a trial. So to get either one of them. So I just want to say that please don't be afraid to reach out to us and talk to us about your situation. Same thing with Andrea and Christina. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you about other resources they know about, physicians that they know about, and connections they can connect you to. So I just wanted to say thank you all for listening to my short presentation about what T-cell therapy is, what we're trying to do in pediatric liver cancer, and I'm so thankful to be here, and thank you again, Pamela, for organizing this and having me on as a speaker.
No problem. And thank you, Dr. Nunez. So now it is time for the Q&A. Someone put in the chat that, will the clinical trials Christina mentioned for hepatoblastoma be available in the UK?
That's a really great question. We are working on everything being available globally. We have a connection on our website where you can check out all of the open trials right now. But yes, the biopharma company that we are working with to get the drug that we found efficacy in hepatoblastoma, it's global, and the trial is going to be open all around the world. And so it's probably more like 2024 before that's going to be opening, but we're on the path to make it kind of globally available. And we really hope that, because we bring all of the clinicians and everybody together, a lot of it is politics, right, within countries, and making sure. I see Nicole like shaking her head, right? So it's not that parents don't want to have it available all across the world, because we certainly do. But a lot of it's the politics of the government and how the funding is coming through, what company is funding it. But when we work through private biopharma companies, sometimes, that can take all the red tape away of like the Children's Oncology Group and stuff like that. And we can make it available globally through private funding and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're interested in anything specific, just reach out to the resource network, and we can dive in with you for something specific. But yeah, that is our goal for sure.
All righty, and we have one for Dr. Nunez. How does your company ensure that the patient well-being remains a top priority through the drug development process?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so I was starting to speak to earlier, Eureka really values not just the efficacy of the treatment, but also the safety of the patient. And that's been a big motivator for me, and I'm sure for many other people who has dealt with cancer firsthand. That honestly, that quality of life that the patient has while undergoing treatment. I mean, sometimes the side effects that they experience is worse than the original cancer side effects that they were experiencing. And Eureka really keeps that in mind. And so that's why we take our trials very seriously in terms of how we design them. We make sure that we're really thinking about the safety for the patient. We're also thinking about the logistics and making sure that we're considering what does the patient's journey look like? How can we make sure that we're having the necessary number of appointments, for example, to make sure things are moving along and doing our safety and efficacy checks. But we also don't want to overwhelm the patient and make it so that, for example, you have to uproot your life. Again, like just comparing to chemotherapy, where some people are traveling half a day or longer's journey just to go get a round of chemotherapy every week or every 2 weeks, for example. And so we've kept that in mind to make sure that we're really just focusing on how can we design this trial in order to get the information we need to show that the drugs are safe and efficacious, but at the same time keeping in mind what the patient's life is like, what the family's life is like. And of course, the biggest thing of all is just making sure that we're really focused on the safety and we're focused on that efficacy. And so I think that's how we're keeping that patient in mind throughout our entire development journey.
Nice, nice. And we have a question in the chat. Katie Graham mentioned that I missed the name of the new drug that was mentioned for hepatoblastoma, and can I access this from the UK?
I think this might be for Christina.
I did see that. I'm just writing Katie back. I'm happy to discuss more details. It's not out yet. It's kind of in the preclinical phase going into a trial probably next year, but we do have some things open that if she needs help looking for trials, I can certainly help out, and she can email us at our website. Just go to the Hepatoblastoma Resource Network online, and I am it, so you will get me if you send us a message, and you can find me online and everything, and I can talk you through what's available and what locations are available right now.
Alrighty, and then I have another.
She's asking about the T cell. Have there been initial success results from the hepatoblastoma trial for the T cells? So that's kind of Nicole's avenue.
Yes, yeah, I like it. We'll keep passing back the clinical trial ones. Yeah, so for the T cell therapy, so actually we have the same T cell therapy is we're actually testing in both adults and pediatric subjects. The adult trial is farther along. What I can say is that we're seeing an excellent safety profile so far, and so we're still early on in the pediatric patients. And I do want to know, obviously, pediatric liver cancer and a pediatric body is very different than an adult liver cancer and an adult body. So I want to just note that like those are kind of two different scenarios. So it's really hard to speak to too much of the safety and efficacy in pediatric patients. But what I can say is that so far the safety profile looks good. And then I did see the note about the UK. So right now, all of our pediatric clinical trial locations are going to be currently in the U.S. But again, even if you are are currently located in another country, just like Christina was saying, I highly encourage you to reach out to us because again, we can help you with logistics. And I just want to kind of reiterate that this isn't getting T cell therapy is not like chemotherapy or radiation where you have to get it every week. It's honestly, it's just you usually get 1 or 2 infusions of the T cell therapy itself. And then there's a few visits before where you do the screening, the leukapheresis, which that's the blood donation where we get your T cells. And then of course there's some follow-up visits after where we have to make sure that you're responding okay to the treatment, that you're okay. And so if you are interested in the T cell therapy and you are from another country, please reach out to us after the call, and I can talk you through how the logistics would look if you had to come to the States for treatment. I am super excited about the prospects, just like Christina was saying about going globally, and that definitely will be the next step, but that most likely will be like during like phase 2 or later phase. Since right now for phase 1, I think for safety will be starting just in the US, but then after I do imagine us branching out and going global.
Perfect. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and close the chat. Thank you to our panelists, Andrea, Christina, and Dr. Nunez, and our audience for being here today. To get connected with any of these resources you saw in today's webinar, please contact Eureka Connect Me at eurekainc.com. We also want to thank the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine, CIRM. CIRM is the world's largest institution dedicated to accelerating world-class science to deliver transformative regenerative medicine treatments in an equitable manner to diverse California in the world. The first liver cancer trial funded by CIRM, and one of the highest award amounts of CIRM has been given in the recent years. And with that being said, again, thank you to our panelists and thank you everyone for being here today.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.